So looking ahead at the opportunity in Cleveland, what does the future you think look like for Cleveland as far as the real estate market and the trend that's going right now?
I still see out of state people moving here. I think the opportunity in Cleveland is immense.
Welcome to episode 1 of the Why Not Cleveland podcast, where we explore the city of Cleveland, local shops, real estate, and what makes our city stand out. Today we have a fantastic guest with us. His name's Thomas DiDonato. He's a local real estate agent. He's been an agent for about, how long?
7 years now.
7 years. So 2018, he sold over 100 homes. Tom, give the guests a little background of yourself. Give them some knowledge of yourself so people know who you are.
I'm from Parma, Ohio, born and raised. Went to high school there, then went to the University of Akron to pursue my first passion, which was football, and my second passion that was lifting weights. From there, got a job as a strength and conditioning coach. Did not graduate, but that's okay. Worked at a place called CSI. Worked with swimmers, volleyball players. Ended up getting into real estate, as you mentioned, 7 years ago, and it's been a ride ever since.
All right. I mean, so it looks like you had like a long journey to get to real estate. What actually motivated you to actually go into real estate?
Well, it's interesting you say that. I actually, I tell people jokingly I had a quarter life crisis.
What does it even mean?
Well, I was like 25 years old, and I was pursuing my passion, which was, I was working out. I was trying to go to the Olympics for Olympic weightlifting, and then when I was working at the previous facility I was working at, I just came to a crossroads. I could continue doing what I was doing, working 12, 14 hours a day, or I could really take a jump and work for myself. And I had two options. I could either become a glazer or I could go into real estate. And I took the bet on myself, knowing I could always be a glazer, knowing how to install a little bit of windows and having my dad in the trade to definitely help me. But I took my cousin Chris asked me to. My cousin Chris is my mentor, by the way. He asked me to join RE/MAX Beyond 2000, now Above and Beyond.
Yeah.
And it's been, like I said, it's just been a journey ever since. It's definitely had some ups and downs.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, you come into real estate, right? Do you really have any background of sales? It looks like that you said you're going to be a glazer. You got to have a little bit of people skills, because most people that go into real estate, former not doctors, teachers, a lot of times teachers, servers. So it's an easy transition. So the transition for you, coming from not doing that, how was that transition?
Actually,
dealing with people.
I actually had no former sales at all.
Okay.
My first job ever when I was 12, and I was cutting up scrap metal in my uncle's shop, probably against OSHA standards. But it's okay. I had a lot of great times there, met a lot of great people, spent a lot of time with my family. And then I ended up going into, being a personal trainer, but I never worked in the sales because I was training teams. So they would just have me meet them. But no door-to-door, no phone knocking or anything. It was actually a pretty big transition for myself, being more of an introvert going into more of an extrovert world.
Okay. I mean, you've clearly done well for yourself, so
Thank you.
it hasn't been that bad for you.
Definitely wasn't always like that, though.
Yeah.
I think my first 8 months, I didn't make a single sale.
Okay.
I probably showed my first client, no joke, like 250 homes.
Christ.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Dante. He's my homie, dude.
Oh, there's no way. There's no way. Yeah, so how has some of the market changed since you've been in real estate? So you started off probably selling like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 houses, and that was 7 years ago. now we're in 2025, where you can't really find a $100,000 house in Cleveland. You can find some, but they're gonna need a lot of work. So my question to you is the transition of real estate over time. How has it changed in your view?
Well, it's in 2018, 2019, it was definitely different. We were still in a seller's market per se, but we didn't see the current inventory that we've had over the past 3 years,
Yeah.
and we have not seen the aggressiveness from buyers.
Yeah.
When I started in 2018, and I'll specifically talk about 2019 because I didn't make my first sale for my first 7 months. It took a while to get going. With that being said, we would see multiple offers, but it would happen all under asking.
Okay.
It was very rare you would see a 10, 20, even $30,000 over asking price offer in the Cleveland area. And it would happen. I'm not saying there's not outliers in any markets, because there are those homes that check everybody's boxes and then some, followed by an appropriate price. But definitely a huge transition there.
Yeah, I mean, today, with the inventory being so low, it's even hard to find a house for people sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Because the inventory is so low. And then when a good house does pop up, say in a good neighborhood, Fairview, Rocky River, where people have been waiting for a while just to get a house there, you got 30 showings in 2 days and 15 offers. So I can imagine in 2018, the landscape had been a little bit different.
Unbelievably different. Now you'll have a buyer, and whether it's from your sphere or a referral generating site, you'll end up helping this person. And previously, and again, I'll speak about 2019. Previously in 2019, you would see 5 to 10 homes that checked most of their boxes. Mm-hmm. Now it seems like they'll call you just to see 2 homes, and it'll be where it was previously 2, maybe a 3-day period, and you'll go see one of those houses again that they really liked. Mm-hmm. Now the market has changed where like, hey, these 2 homes just popped up in 2 days' time. Let's go see them.
Yeah, you don't even get a chance.
And you got 48 hours now. Yeah. Maybe if the seller is gracious, or if there's not too many offers, you'll get that 72-hour period. Very rare right now, though.
Yeah, unless you're coming back the same day, you can probably forget about a second showing on a nice property. It's been difficult, but through the difficult situations, like last year, you seem to still have a good year. So how do you navigate that? Inventory being low, good houses being on the market, but those good houses only last 2 days. How do you navigate still being able to get your clients in those houses?
You have to take a little bit different avenues. You have to be a little bit more aggressive with communicating with other agents to see what their pipelines are looking like. Because if you're able to build a relationship with another agent that might have 2 or 3 other listings, even if you get the nod on the address, building that relationship over the long run, you'll just stay more and more in the front of their mind, and that could give you other avenues to work from. It's, again, a little bit more tedious, but you have to be creative in this market, whether that's doing some farming mailers. If you have for instance, I got a client looking for the Cloverleaf school system, and I have asked multiple title companies. One delivered, that's the one I have an ABA with, Ohio Real Title. They were able to give me a mailing list where I could do a light farm of those areas for my clients. And this ended up helping me generate 2 leads for potential listings, but I was able to get my cousin, who's my client, into some homes to see before anybody else saw them. So it ended up working in both people's favors. Now, those weren't the homes for my cousin and her boyfriend, but, it gives them one more lead and avenue that is a little bit less competitive, and that gets more of an exclusive site at it.
Yeah, you got to explore all your options, really.
And the additional time that they get is huge, because now you go from a 48-hour period to potential a week or maybe an indefinite period to make a decision on the home.
Right. Right. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit and ask you the landscape of the market. Gave us a little bit of insight of how it's changed as far as pricing. But as far as, neighborhoods expanding, things getting a little bit better. 2018, we didn't see some of the neighborhoods that we have now. So what has been some big transitions that you've seen over the city in the last few years?
That's a really good question. One of the things that has definitely changed is the investor market.
Yes, clearly.
We have definitely seen more investors come into the market and purchase more real estate that are not only local to Cleveland, but are outside of Cleveland. And we've been seeing it all over the U.S., including outside the U.S. I think a lot of realtors, we got one or two people that have we've worked with out of the state of Ohio.
Yeah,
and
I got a couple.
Comes with that is some challenges that have changed. Now we have a lead-based paint abatement now. That was a huge transition from when I first started till now. So I mean, a lot of people, they tend to overlook the lead-based paint certification when they're talking to out-of-state investors. Another thing that I've also noticed is their approach at purchasing homes. While we were, and fast forward a little bit to like 2021, 2022, what's really interesting is the amount of money they were able to make. They were able to cover what now a lot of investors follow as the 1% rule,
right? Where
you're able to gross 1% of the mortgage or the value of the home each month.
Right.
Previously, they were beating that by a long shot.
Yeah. It's hard to get that 1% rule now, though.
Yes.
Because the price of houses, right?
Single families and duplexes have been tough, and now with how high their taxes have risen.
Yeah.
Not very. English is my first and my worst language, y'all. But with that being said, you see the taxes rising, the prices of homes rise. It's been harder to make that work. But even in this market where, again, in when I started in 2018, 2019, the market was so much larger. I think that's the biggest thing to look at also when we're talking about the market. It has condensed down so much. I mean, the inventory just with the landscape that's been the biggest concern, I think, for me, for the market and buyers and sellers. It's caused a huge lock with sellers because they're sitting at a 2-3% rate, as high as 4% if they refied. And now they've been in their home 5 to 30 plus years.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
It's hard to rationalize selling your home that you've maintenance for that long to go into almost like a settling situation. And some sellers feel what it feels like. And it's also interesting too because the buyer pool has shrunk so much for residential and investors, but the inventory has shrunk that much more. Yeah. Again, giving it more of a feel of a seller's market. I think we're one inventory boost away from making it more of an even playing field, but it's definitely interesting to see how much the inventory has shrunk. The best example, and my mentor Chris Crawford gave me this stat. Parma, and I use Parma a lot in the example. It's one of the largest cities in Cuyahoga County. Parma, at one point between 2008 and 2010, had 800 total listings. And you might want to fact check this after the podcast, but I'm pretty sure today I saw Parma, Ohio, at 42 listed homes.
Well, that's kind of a unique situation too, though. I mean, 2008, 2010, we're going to the crash, so everybody was selling.
Yes.
People are going foreclosing on everything. So the listings should be higher, right?
Yes.
But I feel like even like 2016, 2017, inventory is a lot higher in Parma.
Oh, yeah. Even when I started in 2019, 2018, I want to say Parma averaged anywhere from 150 homes to 200 homes on the market. I knew there was going to be a problem once we got below 100 homes in Parma. That's when we really start to see the shift also in that market, as well as surrounding cities, which was already booming in sales prices. Brook Park is a prime example. When I first started in real estate, I think Brook Park, Ohio, you were able to get a 3-bedroom ranch for like $99,000, and that was minimal repairs, no point of sale needed. Now, I would say that same I sold one last year to a good friend of mine. I want to say he paid $215 for that ranch, so it's a drastic change in the landscape.
I mean, even in like you said, the Parma, and if a lot of people that that are listening that are not familiar with Parma, he says one of the largest cities. There's over 100,000 people in Parma.
Yes.
So for a city that big to only have 40 to 50 listings, I mean, that has to be an issue. But back to the 1% rule, some of the things that you were saying with the investors and things, how I was saying like it's kind of impossible. What I was trying to refer was like an area like Lakewood. Like it's impossible to get that 1% rule in Lakewood because duplexes are going for 300,000.
Yes.
400,000. But if you go over to Cleveland, it's a little bit better. But you still see those prices rising as well, closer to 200,000 range, which is kind of expensive for Cleveland, surprising as that is.
It's really crazy to see just how difficult it is to make it work. I have a couple buyers right now looking for duplexes outside of the city of Cleveland, and that has been a big struggle trying to find duplexes that cash flow. For instance, I had one that they sent to me. I want to say this was in Richfield, and it was a beautiful home, side-by-side duplex, 3-bed, 1-bath each side. Both units had a 1-car attached garage, sat on about an acre. And don't quote me on this, but I want to say the list price was like $450, and then the rent was only about $900 each unit.
That makes no sense.
Oh, yeah, I mean, definitely seemed like a family friend deal. Probably purchased a home for a great price, great rate back in the day. But it's definitely, I mean, to make it cash flow, I mean, you probably have to be close to $2,200, $2,300 a unit. So to get a tenant to jump that high that's a tough ask. But there's strategies to make it work.
Yeah. So now being in 2025, inventory has been low. How are things looking for you this year?
This year's been a little bit of a different year, and typically my years start a little bit slower. My plan for 2025 is mainly to work on myself and my business, work on my systems. That's something that I have come to realize over the last 3 years of my business. I'm hitting good numbers. I'm very happy with the strides that I've made, but a big goal of mine I've had is to have 30 sales in a year. Now, with the depleted inventory, I know 2025 is going to be a little bit of a challenge to do that. But with that being said, as long as I can keep working on my systems and build for a better day today and a better day tomorrow, I think we're going to have a good year. But as of right now, we have about 5 transactions closed. Helped 4 different clients this year. It's been a very good year in that aspect.
Nice to hear that. So I also wanted to talk about not only real estate, but also about some of the local things in the city of Cleveland. Just to give a highlight to Cleveland, I don't think that we get a good rep, honestly.
One of the best cities that no one talks about.
No, honestly, we don't get enough rep in Cleveland. I know back in the day we were one of the top 5 cities. Now, people fear because there's a lot of crime here, but inside the city, there's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of unique characteristics about the city. One thing that's unique is the city has a lot of small business owners and a lot of local shops that people like. I know you're a coffee guy.
Oh yeah,
So,
coffee and food is my go-to.
yeah, I know you're a coffee guy. So, can you highlight a couple good coffee shops, local shops in the area?
Well, over the last year, I've definitely enjoyed Leco, located on, I believe that, what is that, Detroit?
Okay.
Detroit and West 25th. I mean, that has been a really good spot. Great people there. I enjoy Rising Star.
My fiance loves Let Go.
Oh my God, it's good stuff. Yeah, highly recommend the Miel, Cafe Miel.
Yeah,
It's
Rising
great.
Star is good too.
They're very good.
Yeah, that's my joint.
A couple places a little bit closer to home. I do enjoy Metropolitan. That's a nice local spot to myself. Nervous Dog, which is not necessarily Cleveland, but if you go east, that's they have a good cup of coffee for a good price, like $4.50 for a double shot of espresso. I think they call it a Chihuahua. I mean, it's pretty good stuff, you know. With that being said, we do have a friend, Bailey Smith. She owns a shop out in Lake Bay Village.
Okay.
I can't remember what the name of the shop is. I want to say it's Trust Coffee.
Okay, I think that is the name of the
But I
coffee shop.
I'm sorry, Bailey, if you watch this. I'm pretty sure it's Trust Coffee. I just had it the other day playing disc golf, but it was delicious.
So, what advice would you give to someone that's moving to Cleveland? Out of state?
The first,
Or someone that's local. It could be either or.
you know, I think the big thing I would recommend learning about not being from Cleveland. I'm going to talk about a little bit about my life, a little bit about this, but would be, flood zones, areas that flood, that is something that is not talked about.
Yeah.
Ohio was built on wetlands, and we had an irrigation system long, long ago, and that's one of the reasons why Lake Erie has rights. It's one of the only body of waters with rights, and it has a green hint to it, is because all the runoff from the pipelines created an algae pool. But it's super. I mean, it worked out great because now
I
me
know
and you
that.
live here, and a whole bunch of other people do too. But one of the things that people don't know about Cleveland is, again, like we're built on wetlands, so you wanna know where there could be potential flood zones. Another thing is, we're an old city. We have old pipelines, and you don't want to get stuck in a situation where, you have a home that's flooding a little bit. So you do want to do a little bit of research on the areas for that. Another thing I would tell people moving to Cleveland is you definitely want to figure out what's your vibe. Because as soon as you come to Cleveland, you're going to find out that it's super interesting because it's like a west side, east side.
It really is.
And
West versus East always.
you hear people talk about it all the time. I think
Yeah.
that, what is it, the Cuyahoga River that like divides it?
Yeah.
But that's something you do want to look into because each side of the city has its own different feel vibe. If you're going down to like a Cleveland Heights, University Circle, what else, or University Heights, South Euclid area. I mean, there's some really cool spots over there.
Yeah.
But even if you're going
The
to
houses over there, man.
they're huge.
They're beautiful.
I mean, shout out the Rockefellers. They're the ones who really started that movement
Yep.
over there. I mean, and that's something, if you're not from Cleveland, I highly recommend you going to the east side, checking out the Cleveland Heights east side, or East Cleveland border where the Rockefellers had all their buddies move to. I mean, you'll see ranches, Cape Cods, colonials with bedrooms the size of some of the living rooms we grew up in on the west side.
Yeah, I mean the difference between the houses over there on the east side and the west side, though, is those the brick colonials and the amount of brick colonials, classic charm that they have over there.
yes.
The Tudor houses.
Yes.
I always say I might not be one to want to live on the east side, but I think Shaker Heights, Cleveland Heights have the most beautiful houses
Oh,
in
Shaker
Cleveland.
Heights is beautiful. Yeah, that's
By far.
That's a great city just to drive through and sightsee. I mean, I love going over there when I'm over there.
Yeah, you shoot down Fairmont.
Oh yeah.
You can see all the beautiful houses that you want. With that being said, not only buyers, I mean, I know you work with a lot of sellers too. So what are some advice that you've been giving sellers in this market? We're in more of a seller's market. So, I mean, there's not much advice you could give them. It's just, your house is going to sell fast. No, I'm just kidding. But
Price.
what advice have you been giving them?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a seller's market, and this is why. I would say more it's like an opportunist market. I mean, you can create your opportunity to make it a seller's market.
Yeah.
If you price a home at a certain price point, I mean, you're going to see the buyers flow in. You really want to double check your price points. Your realtor wants to triple check it. But if you get the price point on the dot, I just had a listing go up in Westlake, and where you see a very broad range in active listing prices. We priced it slightly below where we thought that it was valued, and we ended up getting a great deal on it. And fingers crossed, it's going really well right now. But can't count. What's the phrase?
No idea.
What is it? You can't count your eggs before they hatch.
Oh yeah, yep. That's exactly the phrase.
Yes,
that really is the phrase though.
But it is.
But I didn't know where you're going with that. But
no, you're good. That was my fault. I had a brain fart. But that's something I've noticed between a couple listings of mine versus others. It really comes down to pricing.
Yeah. I mean, pricing's everything. So looking ahead at the opportunity in Cleveland, what does the future you think look like for Cleveland as far as the real estate market and the trend that's going right now for the next few years? Actually,
I still see out of state people moving here. I think the opportunity in Cleveland is immense, and whether and I'll talk about some of our passions. We love sports. Whether the Browns stay in Cleveland or they move to Brook Park, just to see the lakefront, how it's changed so much. I still see a big boom there in the future. The affordability in Cleveland compared to other states, I still see a lot of people migrating here.
Yeah.
And then we have top 5, top 6 largest fresh body of water adjacent to us.
Yeah, we also have one of the largest metro parks one of the largest park systems in the United States with the metro parks.
Oh yes, exactly, 100%. And then you look at the farmland, the agriculture we have available to us in our surrounding states. I think the opportunity here is just, like I said, immense.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in the next few years, I think prices are going to rise a lot because I think we're going to get a lot of people moving here. I think people will want to be in Cleveland after they realize, we have a lot of cold, but the summers are probably the best summers ever. And another opportunity that people have is being close to the water. You don't get that in a lot of places. So I think that people are still going to want to move here. I think it's going to go up.
Well, another thing is, too, you mentioned the water. Even if you move just south of Lake Erie, the amount of ponds and waterways in Ohio, they're everywhere. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Going down, Portage Lakes in Akron. Oh my God, it's a great time. Silver Lake up there. I think a good friend of mine from college invited me to a Silver Lake party, and everyone docked their boats, and you can go on any boats, drink beers, whatever. It was a great time. But that's the type of people you're going to find in the Midwest too. We're very, very, very nice people.
You'll be surprised how many people I talk to, because I'm actually getting married at Portage Lake. So, and that I talk to, that it'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know Portage Lakes. I tell them, look it up, rent a pontoon.
Oh yeah.
For the summer, take 10 friends and just have a good day, because it's a hidden gem. It really is. All right, Tom, I want to thank you for showing up today, giving a great interview, and giving us some perspective on Cleveland, the real estate market. Hopefully that we can have you on here again sometime.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But if you have not yet just liked and subscribed the video, please do. In the link below, please share this with your friends and family as we grow the podcast. Thanks for listening on the Why Not Cleveland podcast.